Welcome to Wholeness, a quantum experience. I'm your host, Ava, and today we have Shannon Ledford to join us.
Hi.
Hi. Yeah, and so we're doing this fun thing where we interview each other and get to know, more about what we each think about wholeness and each other. So tell us, Shannon, about your wholeness journey.
Yeah. I think for me, I want to start with like who you're sitting with. So, yeah, I'm Shannon. Ava and I are business partners with the Quantum Energy Wellness Bed. But first and foremost, I'm a mom of two girls who are 11 and 4. And that's my number one main gig, right? So, my husband and I are in this really creating the most fortifying space for our girls to grow up in, right? I'm also an ancestral medicine practitioner. So I work with people to heal their blood lineages, and I've done that for about 6 years. And that's been a big part of um, creating an environment in the unseen that really nourishes my life, the life of my family, and just how I move in the world. Right. And so I just think it's in like this, yeah. So, my wholeness journey, when I think about it from a couple of different perspectives, it's like there's a whole wholeness journey that I'm on in raising my girls, right? Because nothing brings up more of our conditionings and all of that than raising children who mirror it back to you, right? And it's this opportunity to do it differently, to do to meet them in ways that I wasn't met, like by my parents. And that creates more wholeness for me, right? Because I get to play with that differently. Like, oh, I wish I'd been met this way. And so, and I wasn't, and that's okay because we all came with our own journeys, right? But now I can meet, I'm finding it particularly with my older daughter as she's getting older and getting into those, tween years and starting to have really her own rhythm with the world and really investigating what that is. Um, it it really highlights those things, and so there's this whole part of wholeness for me that's bringing in those parts in the ways in which I wasn't met the way would have most nourished me, maybe. But that only the ability to do it differently only gets created because I have a much deeper sense um, that my being can hold the resonance of wholeness, right? Because for me, wholeness is this
Tell me more about
yeah. So for me, wholeness is this resonance, right, that I can tap into. And I think for me, for so long, there was so much static around that resonance that I had a hard time feeling the full extent of it. Really knowing what wholeness felt like in this body, embodying it, physically, mentally, spiritually. And to be really honest, I can't hold that frequency in all of those realms and all of those dimensions all the time. But I know it now so that I can tap into it. And I know I have an awareness around when I am. And some of that static was released when I healed my own ancestral lines, right? When I really got into relationship with my lineages, with the well and wise and elevated grandmothers and grandfathers that came before me, right? Because that cleared some static. And then the quantum energy wellness bed and my journey on that and spending time with that, where it clears the static to the to the quantum field, yeah. But the static from the ancestors, it like lives, it like lived in me because they're part of my blood and bones and cells. And so it like took that space and releasing of that static, slowing down of that static, for me to even realize there was this bigger quantum thing to tap into. Yeah.
Yeah, as you say that and I reflect back, for me, it really like you're right, it's in you, but also it's like almost this like the closest bubble around you or around myself felt like there was like space. Like it wasn't all like it felt like everything was like up in my grill. And then it's like you do this work with the ancestors and then you have like room for you, not all these other entities all up next
I
to you.
like
And I
watch your
feel
shoulders go from this to like this, right?
yeah, I was like, "Oh, there's no room," you know? And then it reminds me too, and I loved this so much, where someone had said, like, it's like pulling up your pants, working with the ancestors, and that just, like, was amazing to me. It was, like, one of my favorite
Yeah, so it's
things.
that
And
idea that
so
like when you've got all that like ghosty static around you and you're not in relationship with your ancestors, it's like running around with your pants around your ankles and it's hard and you're wobbly and all these things. And like, yeah, that relationship with the ancestors, you like pull your pants up and like, oh my god, I can walk, I can run, I can do cartwheels.
it's so
So
good.
good.
Yeah. I wonder what what we would say about the bed, like, as that next layer, but I don't know what that is yet.
Yeah. The bed's so unique. The quantum energy wellness bed is so unique because it so for me, the biggest thing that's gone on for me with the bed is it helps to regulate my nervous system. And there's so much coming at us in this chaotic world that we're living in these changing times, right? That can feel really chaotic. Um, that I find that I can easily get knocked out where like my nervous system gets dysregulated. And so what the bed does for me mostly, like as it's the most foundational thing, is it helps me regulate my nervous system. But it's not that I get on the bed and the bed regulates my nervous system. It's I lay on the bed and it creates a field where the static that's in my relationship with the quantum field quiets. And then I'm able to receive from the quantum field what best meets me in that moment. And it's the quantum is teaching my body and my being how to regulate its own nervous system. And so it's this back and forth. It's not the bed regulates my nervous system. It's no, the bed creates an environment where I am learning to better regulate my nervous system.
Yeah.
And so I get my lesson, I get off the bed, I go out into the world to use whatever lessons I've learned. I get dysregulated again, right? And I come back for more. But it's the forging. Like my, for me, over the last year and a half, it's a forging of my nervous system, of being that ability, that resource of regulating my nervous system.
As you're sharing that, it just came like I just realized how I mean, you can lay on your front on the bed, but I don't know about you, but generally at least half the time I tend to be on my back.
Mm,
And if y'all don't know already, it's like heated. We have far infrared heat. And so like your adrenals and your kidneys are touching that heat. And that is this really beautiful added thing to what you're saying because one, kidneys emotionally are all about fear. And so it's getting this like extra love and support. And the kidneys also love to be warm, they love to be hot. And so, that's also working right on your like fear response, which is generally related to the nervous system. And when we're overly stressed, our adrenals tank And so they're getting resourced in this other really beautiful way. So I just got so excited because it just like clicked as you were talking, how like there's this, multiple things happening at once when we get on this bed to support
Which is
us.
interesting because there were, when we first started using the bed, I would lay on my back for about half the hour session, so 30 minutes, and then I would often turn to lay on my belly for the second half of the session. I now spend 90% of my time on my back, laying on my back.
Mm,
Um,
yeah.
just because I'm open to whatever my body wants or my being wants in any given session. Um, yeah, there was that distinct moment. So about 9 months ago, I went to pick up my 4-year-old at school, and they thought they couldn't find her at the forest school she was at. And
Mm.
that wasn't exactly the case, but they didn't have eyes on her. They didn't know exactly where she was for a moment. Like this all probably went on for 60 seconds, 120 seconds, like 1-2 minutes, right? But it knocked my nervous system completely out. Like I'm totally dysregulated at that point. So this is like a Thursday afternoon, and I go to the bed Friday morning, and I watched my nervous system just go and regulate. Like
Mm.
I watched like whatever dominoes had fallen to get me dysregulated, like come back into place and literally just like, and I'd never felt it so distinctly. And so for a moment that was hard and dysregulating for a short amount of time with no consequences, right? Because she was fine and everything was fine. I got this beautiful opportunity to really visually, because I'm very visual, so visually understand what was going on and feel it in my body. It was awesome. It was awesome.
Beautiful.
And that's when I really realized what a nervous system regulation journey I was on. Now, you'll talk to our members and our clients who come in on a regular basis, right? And they'll be doing totally different work than that, because the bed,
Yeah. Mine was mostly grief.
right,
Other people's is vibrational. Like, yeah, everybody's is, we're all working on different things. And that's one of the best things about the bed is it meets you where you are.
totally, yeah. I mean,
I mean, the quantum field in general, which, the bed is just one of the resources and ways to help you tap into, the limitless possibilities of the quantum field.
yeah. But what a gift to find the resource that's for me to really do that in these times. Invaluable. And I bring my girls to the bed too. So my 11-year-old walking through the soundlight journey. My 4-year-old, we mostly put her on for distance sessions at this point. There was a time when she loved going to the bed, and then she started to give me pushback, and she just wants distance sessions where we put her picture on the bed, even though she lives 10 minutes away. She's teaching me.
What do you notice different about your children's wholeness and capacity
Mm.
when, they experience quantum technology?
Yeah, I think because they're my children, they're mirroring my journey some around the dysregulation of the nervous system, right? And so, like, yeah, it just lands them in their bodies, both, which is really good. And like the indicators for when a session would be really beneficial for them is like for my 11-year-old, if because she's learning to navigate the world in this different way. She has anxiety come up around that, and she'll find she'll have a hard time going to sleep at night. And so when that starts to happen a couple of nights, I know that like, oh, a bed session would be a really nourishing thing for her, right? I mean, the other thing we're using, and I was going to talk about this when we talk about like tools that we're using, but one of the things that's really working for her right now that we've just started is she can't fall asleep at night, having her come up and just journal whatever's going on. Because what I started to see was that she's just holding a lot inside. And so if she can journal it out, then it's easier for her to go to sleep. Right. And so journaling something, I mean, known about that for a long time. I use it at times. I don't have a steady practice. It probably would be really beneficial for me, actually, but we're really using it right now, like that. Then she just rips it up. I mean,
Yeah. As you say that, it just makes me think about anxiety in general. And one of the things that I learned actually being on the bed with anxiety, because a lot of times I am like full monkey mind. Like I am one of the few people that has never fallen asleep on this bed. And
blows my mind.
I always come off really centered, just to throw that out there.
Okay.
So if you ever get on the bed with someone and you're having that experience, like it's not uncommon necessarily. It's not wrong. Um, and I guess what part of what I learned that I feel like is also really beautiful about this journaling practice with anxiety, or how anxiety shows up for me, is like it's this it like it wants to move out of me, right? Like it's there's so much, like, right, depression is like it's like more stillness, you're compressed, whereas like anxiety, it's like this bubbling thing, and like we can get really swirly with our thoughts. And so I've noticed when I'm that way on the bed, I tend to like move more, like I'll stretch, or I might get off the bed and like do some shaking or something, because it's like at once there's this something in me that wants to come up and out. And I feel like with the journaling that you're talking about, it's the same thing, right? You're like pulling the thoughts out. And so, like, what a gift that at 11 years old, she gets to start playing with that.
Yeah. And it's me, right? Like, I, at her age, in my teens, I just so much in my head. And so, yeah, we can
Yeah.
just get it out some. What's interesting is that the first night we did it, she like brought it down and she handed it to me. I said, "Oh no, it's not for me. It's for you. You can just rip it up." She's like, "Well, will you read it if I want you to?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And so I do because she wants me to. Whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the thing about wholeness too for me. I'm in the frequency of wholeness when I'm meeting the moment. And so and my kids really, the verb that came was demand that of me, right? To meet every moment with them. Because actually, I mean, I'll share. You asked me, "Oh, well, what if do you really need to be reading it?" Which is a great question, right? And so, like, I got to slow down and be like, "Oh no, it's really important," and that was very clear, right? But because of the
Yeah.
relationship we have, it can be like, "Hey, let me pose this question," and it gets me thinking. And if it wasn't clear, I'd be like, "Ooh, wait, what's going on here?" And then we'd dialogue it out probably. But in that particular instance, I was like, "Oh no, it's really clear. It's really clear for me to read this." Ooh.
Yeah. And what I just want to bounce off of that is just that that's one of the beautiful things about our relationship and our wholeness journey as friends and partners, and all these different ways that we relate to each other, is that, yeah, we ask each other powerful questions, and mostly do it like without attachment, right? It's just there to be like, hey, consider this. It doesn't mean anything. Like, just
Yeah.
here's a way for you to deepen this much more.
Yeah, it's twofold though, because you're absolutely right. It's without attachment because I don't care how you answer. I'll ask the real questions and I don't care what you come back with. But the other that has to be there is that we love each other. Like we really care about each other, love each other, and um, know that about each other. Like we're not out to hurt each other ever,
Right? Yeah,
ever.
absolutely.
And if the other gets hurt by something, like if you say something and it hurts me, it's more likely that I say something and it hurts you, to be perfectly honest. But because that's more me, you have a much softer touch. Let's be real. Um, then we just come to each other and we're like, "Hey,
I'm working on that. Sorry,
working
keep
on
going.
what? Just say it again."
I said I'm working on that. I'm working on being a little less soft
Yeah, totally. And I'm working on being
and more
softer,
bold. Yeah.
right? Because there's things we can learn from each other that help us be better. It doesn't mean we want to meet here and be the same person. Heck no. But if something that's one of my strengths helps you and something that's one of your strengths helps me find the balance, that's how I work with my husband too, as you know. He's very different from me. He's much more similar to you in
Yep.
energetic makeup.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
Yeah.
It's good for me. It's good for me to have people in my life that are really different than me, really care about me, and are willing to ask the hard questions. I talk about, with regard to my husband, I talk about one of the things I love about him is that he always wants to say yes to me, which is awesome,
Mm.
but he is not afraid to say no. And that creates this beautiful trust. And when he says no, I really pause because he loves me and he wants to say yes to whatever crazy thing I've come up with. But when he says no, it's important and he's willing to do it,
Yeah.
which I love. And so, like, all of that, having those people in my life, you, him, that helps me also be discerning around when I'm in the frequency of wholeness or not.
Mm.
Right? Because I mean, we were using the example of, you were asking me, like, are you supposed to read those? Like, are you, whatever, right? And I got to pause and be like, ooh, am I? And I got to be like, oh no, I'm definitely in the resonance of wholeness and clarity around, oh, I absolutely am. And here's why in this moment. And you may ask me a month from now, and that may not be the right answer, or a year from now. And that's okay too. But today, it is. And
Yes.
I'm okay if a week from now, a month from now, a year from now, it's not the right answer. And the way it'll come out is I'll have a discussion with you and I'll feel angsty energy around. I may not, probably not, be able to identify it. You'll be like, hey, you'll ask the question again. And we'll get to it.
Yeah. Because one day it won't necessarily serve her or you
Right.
in the same way because we're dynamic creatures. Yeah.
And that's what I'm really talking about, that like foundationally right now, wholeness for me is about meeting every moment, being as much in that wholeness frequency as I can. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm switching gears a little bit because I think the other part of it for me is around um, really choosing not to suffer. We've been talking about that some too, right?
Mm,
Like not choosing suffering, because that helps me be in that wholeness
yes.
frequency more. Not bypassing, we're like, oh, everything's an opportunity. I should never suffer. But not grabbing onto suffering and thinking I am learning and growing through suffering. Because I don't think that's true anymore.
Yeah. Well, and two, can we experience something really hard, like let's say a death where we're grieving and still not choose suffering, right? Like it's one thing to allow that grief to move through you because that's what needs to happen. And it's another thing to hold on to the grief and choose suffering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a no to choosing suffering. And yet there are moments when I still do.
Yes, we are human
Mm.
and we're on a journey like to wholeness, right? Remembering our wholeness. And so we're not going to be perfect.
Yeah, that perfect thing. Oof. Yuck.
Yeah, that. Um, so did you already share your tool with us then?
No, I have another one. Like the
Great.
journaling's cool. I'm particularly, like I said, that was partially for moms who are, you know, having this thing with their kids potentially. That like that might be a tool. It can be for yourself. It can be for your kids. This one's not for your kids, and this one's for women. So
Great.
this one's for the women. I have recently been introduced to Kegel weights, and I love them. So shout out to Sarah Poet. We're doing her structure and flow right now, as it is February 2025. Our her structure and flow program. And one of the things that she mentioned is Kegel weights. And when she did, I was like, "Whoa, what? Tell me more. Tell me more." I ordered them when we got off the call. Um, so you, they're like weighted, they're like silicone weighted tampons, if you will, but they're weighted, right? And so they're really working the pelvic muscles. And so what I noticed for me, what I've noticed energetically for me is that like um, I can really connect like from my solar plexus up, but not so much from like my womb down. So like my womb and my sacrum aren't connected to this whole thing. There's like a kink. And so what the Kegel weights are doing for me is helping to strengthen the pelvic floor physically, and that energetically that kink is working itself out. And they go up in weight by color as they get darker in color. There's more weight. There's like 6 of them, and so they go from a lighter weight to a heavier weight. And I've just started playing with them in the last 2-3 weeks, but um, they are the thing of the moment for me. And again, a week from now, a month from now, a year from now, maybe my time with them is done. I don't know. All I know is that right now, it's really the thing for me. So yeah, we can
Beautiful.
put a
Thank
link
you for
too. We should put a
sharing.
link, like on the
Yeah.
yeah to the. I mean, I literally bought them off Amazon, but we can put a link.
Yeah, we'll definitely get a link for these. And yeah, I haven't taken the leap on that one yet. I'm still sort of feeling it out, but I can definitely feel, yeah, how it could be really powerful. And even just thinking about like the root chakra, right? And how like safety and all of that lives there, and just how really like strengthening that can support us so deeply, so that we can really um almost, it feels like a weird way to say it, but feel safe enough to take in the resources that we need. Like speaking also to that like nervous system support in a way, right? Like it's all so connected.
I will say too, like
Yeah.
Sarah Poet talks about how sacred her practice is with them, with the Kegel weights. I basically put the Kegel weight in for 10 to 15 minutes while I like brush my teeth and take a shower. Like that's where I am with them. I love it. And for me, 10 or 15 minutes in the morning while I'm doing my thing.
Right. It's like whatever is right for you.
Yeah, that's cool.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
All right. Do you want to share with us your offerings and where people can find you, what you're doing?
sure. Um, so yeah, for to like investigate if the ancestral medicine part for you and like healing your blood lineages was like, ooh, you can look into that at shannonledford.com. So that's where those offerings are. And uh, I'm happy to chat for 15-20 minutes about that on a call with you. And then the other is AshevilleQuantumWholeness.com, where you can book sessions either in person here in Asheville, North Carolina, or distance sessions on the bed. And the bed's cool. So check it out. That's what I would say. Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah. all of it's good. Like, and so here's the thing too. Follow the breadcrumbs. So if like the bed, like that, like lights up for you, it's in front of you, awesome. Ancestral medicine, it's in front of you, awesome. You hear something else somewhere else today that is like, ooh, what? Like the idea that like Sarah talks about the Kegel weights, and I'm like, ooh, I need those. Oh, that's for me right now. I know it. It's right in front of me. Not like, ooh, I should maybe investigate that, but like, oh, it's right here. Follow those breadcrumbs is what I would say.
Definitely. And I'll just add too that if the bed calls to you at all, I've noticed the more I get on the bed, the more clarity I have around what that next thing is for me each time. So just throwing that out
Well, and
there too.
Ava was my first ancestral medicine client too, after I finished my training 6 years ago. So we did that too.
That is true. And actually, I have something I want to share about that. Now I feel inspired. Um, at the same time, I was in this program that was like very body based, very experiential, like big energy stuff, and it was very intense.
Mm.
And then I go to do this ancestral practice, and I learned in doing that, because it wasn't intense, right? Because you let the ancestors do it. You don't have to, you're not really doing a lot of the work. And so I learned this big distinction between impactful and intense. And I used to think that they equaled each other, and they don't. And so any of you who tend to have more like be a little more like addiction oriented is kind of what I want to say, like addicted to big experiences. Um Ancestral medicine is this really beautiful place. Um I guess to heal some of that might be a way to say it. Like to learn that you can um, have this like alchemical experience that's really impactful without intensity. And so that was just, that felt really important to say.
Yeah. There's a potency and a subtlety to ancestral medicine.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we'll talk more about it as we continue with the podcast, I'm sure.
Right. We'll have many
Lots of
more
things.
conversations.
Yeah. God, this has been fun. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Shannon. This was great. And thank you for joining us. And we'll see you next
Bye,
time.
everybody.